I think what you really want to say is that you have to act. This is really, when you're first starting out, is you have to act wherever you can. You can't be picky. You really have to act wherever you can, and wherever you get a chance to act, and that might even be just in an audition room. This is something a teacher told me years ago, and he's right. Even if you're auditioning for something that you know you're never going to get, or you might have read it and you might not even have liked it, but you know that you have to go, that if you get a chance to act in a room that somebody else has paid rent for, then you're given a free chance to practice your craft. And in that moment, you should act as well as you can, because if you leave the room or the theater or wherever you are and you've acted as well as you can, there's no way that the people who've watched you will forget it. And that was something that somebody told me a long time ago, and I do think that's the only advice, because it's always about that. It's always about the work at the end of the day. Everybody knows that. Absolutely. If I show up to work one day and the work I'm doing isn't any good, I'm just a guy who's not acting well. I mean, I'm a guy who's not acting well, you know, and you're just always back to that moment. You're always back to that moment where you have to act as well as you can. And I would say to anybody starting out, is like, if you're given a chance to act, take those words and bring them alive. And if you do that, something will transpire ultimately.
And I think you have to kind of start with saying, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how the hell I'm going to do this at all. You know, really be as naive as possible, you know, and as ignorant as possible. Because then you can keep yourself as wide open as possible for anything that could be of help, could be of use, you know. But just to keep yourself open, because you don't know where something's going to come from that's going to inspire you to the next place, you know.
Do you say, I'm a character actor, I'm proudly so, or do you say, I don't know what that means because I'm an actor and I'll take a big role, a leading role, a small role, I'll just take a role?
Right. I think that, you know, I never saw it as and I hope it's so, when you talk about this, you hope you don't sound pretentious, but the fact is that I never saw it as labeled as anything. Right. I just came into it because I wanted to act in the theater, and so I ended up in a college, and I was studying it with some teachers, and I was kind of making up what I would use to create what I wanted to do, and with these teachers, and that's what I did. And what I learned was that these people that I was going to play were not me, and that's the thing I had to look at was, how were they similar to me and how were they different from me? And I had to cover those bases so I could understand what makes them different and what makes them similar, and therefore I could create this person that's not living my life, it's living someone else's life. I have to say, I think it has to do with that I'm fortunate. I'm fortunate because I've been offered and given the opportunity to work on some great projects with great people. And I'm at I think any time in someone's life, but I'm definitely at a time in my life, and I have been at a time in my life where I've been available and could afford the time to do these things and give my whole heart to them. So that's really why, you know, it's definitely not because I need to be doing a movie every other week, but it's because I've had the opportunity to work with these people, and so I've jumped at it. But you're always got to be looking at the story. You always have to be looking at the truth and the through line of the story, because they can't live without each other. Yeah. You know, you think you can compartmentalize all these things, but ultimately they have to fuse together and become a living thing inside of you.
How do you look? What do you look for when, in terms of getting inside the character, not in terms of accepting a role, but getting inside the character? What is it that?
I look for the thing I really don't want to find. Is the best, meaning that I keep asking questions about the character and about myself, back and forth, pertaining to the story, pertaining to what I know, to get at some type of truth that I feel is the center of the person's engine. If that makes any sense at all. You know, it's kind of like getting at something that hopefully will be something that kind of catapults whoever you're playing into action, and that's a hard thing to do, and sometimes you don't find it, but you can in constant search of it.
Do you put the process on paper, or is it just a mental exercise?
It's a mental exercise. No, it's very mental. It's work. It's problem solving. It's a lot of things. But you know, it's always about the part and the story. At the end of the day, if you're not right for it, you just can't work for people. Even if you got to be right for that project, you got to be fitting that story.